Welcome everyone to the channel where we explore the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable stories that show us how something as small and ordinary as a penny can sometimes hold extraordinary value. And today we are going to dive deep into the mystery, the history, the details, and the possibilities behind a coin that looks like just another piece of copper-plated zinc in your pocket change but in reality has shocked collectors, historians, and enthusiasts alike. Because of its unique mistakes and minting errors, and I am talking about none other than the 2005 D Lincoln 1-cent coin, which has been reported to have reached values as high as $1.4 million, a staggering amount for something most people would overlook without even a second glance. So let's take a journey together into why this coin stands out, what makes it so valuable, and how these kinds of mistakes in minting can turn an ordinary penny into a life-changing piece of numismatic history. And as we unravel this, keep in mind that coin collecting is not just about metal and design but about the stories they carry, the history they preserve, and the fascinating quirks that make one coin worth more than an entire fortune. To truly understand the value of the 2005 D 1-cent coin, we need to look back at the basics of what the coin was supposed to be, because in 2005 the United States Mint was continuing its long-running Lincoln cent design, which had been in circulation since 1909, the obverse featuring Abraham Lincoln's portrait created by Victor David Brenner, and the reverse still showing the Lincoln Memorial introduced in 1959 to honor the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. But by the time 2005 rolled around, most collectors thought there was nothing particularly unusual about the year. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of these coins, each one made of 97.5% zinc and coated with a thin layer of copper, lightweight compared to the earlier pre-year 1982 bronze cents, and essentially considered common pocket change. So why would a coin like this suddenly gain fame for being worth more than $1 million? The answer lies in errors and mistakes, because sometimes during the minting process small anomalies occur that create coins that are unique, one of a kind, or part of a very limited run of defective pieces, and these errors make coins highly desirable to collectors who prize rarity above all else, and the 2005 D cent became a shining example of this phenomenon, with rumors, reports, and actual discoveries pointing to a variety of strange and fascinating errors that pushed its value into legendary territory. When we talk about errors, we can break them into categories: planchet errors, striking errors, and die errors, each of which can produce remarkable results. And in the case of the 2005's D cent, collectors have identified possibilities of double die obverses, off-center strikes, broad strikes without collars, missing plating which exposes the zinc core underneath, and even improperly mixed metal compositions that resulted in coins with unusual coloration or weight. And each of these errors alone could make a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, but when combined or when found in exceptionally rare condition, the price skyrockets, and in some cases a perfect storm of rarity, condition, and collector demand can lead to astronomical values like the $1.4 million figure tied to certain examples of the 2005 D cent. One of the most talked about errors from this year is the double die, particularly on the obverse where Lincoln's profile and the lettering around the coin can appear double due to a misalignment during the hubbing process, and these double dies can be dramatic, with noticeable doubling on the date 2005, on the phrase "In God We Trust," or on Lincoln's eye and mouth, giving the appearance of a shadowed portrait. And collectors go wild for these because they are visually striking and rare, and depending on severity can fetch enormous premiums. And when one of these coins is found in mint state condition with full red luster intact, the value escalates to breathtaking levels. Another type of error that has been associated with the 2005's D cent is off-center striking, where the coin blank was not properly aligned with the dies, and the result is a coin where part of the design is missing and a crescent of blank planchet remains. And the further off-center the strike, the rarer and more desirable the coin, especially if the date remains visible, because collectors want to be able to attribute the year of error. And examples from 2005 D that are severely off-center but still show the date can be worth incredible sums, contributing to the lore of this $1 million cent. Then we must consider broad strike errors, where the collar that normally keeps the coin's diameter consistent fails, and the coin spreads out wider than normal with distorted features, creating a unique look that stands out immediately to anyone who sees it. And such broad strikes from the Denver Mint in 2005 have also been documented, making them valuable collectibles in their own right. But perhaps the most intriguing error linked to the 2005's D cent is the missing copper plating error, because since 1982 cents have been made primarily of zinc with a thin copper coating, and sometimes during the plating process the copper fails to adhere properly, resulting in coins that appear silvery gray rather than the usual red-brown. And when these are discovered, they are instantly prized because they show the underlying zinc core, making them look completely different from ordinary pennies, and examples in pristine condition have been auctioned for staggering amounts, leading to the belief that the 2005 missing plating cents could be among the most valuable of all modern-era coins, and indeed one such specimen has been cited as selling for as much as $1.4 million because of its unique condition and rarity. Of course, the combination of errors also plays a huge role, because sometimes a coin may have multiple mistakes such as a double die combined with off-center striking or a missing plating combined with broad strike, and these hybrid errors are extremely scarce, making them the crown jewels of any collection. And if such a coin from 2005 exists, it explains perfectly why it could command a price tag in the $1 million range. Because in the world of numismatics, rarity is king, and when you have something truly one of a kind, collectors with deep pockets will battle each other at auction to own it. Now let's talk about the role of condition and grading, because errors alone do not guarantee astronomical value. The coin state of preservation is equally important, and professional grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins on a scale up to 70, with coins in mint state 65 and higher being especially desirable, and if an error coin is found in such a pristine state with full luster, no scratches, and sharp details, its value can increase exponentially, and in the case of the 2005 cent, the $1 million examples are believed to be those that combine dramatic errors with top-tier grading, making them legendary within collector circles. The story of the 2005 cent also reminds us of how ordinary objects can carry extraordinary stories, because think of the millions of people who have handled 2005 pennies in their everyday lives without realizing that one of them could be worth a fortune, and this is what excites collectors and treasure hunters, the idea that in pocket change or in an old jar of coins there might be a hidden gem waiting to be discovered, and that sense of adventure and possibility fuels the entire hobby of coin collecting, making stories like the 2005 cent not only about money but about the thrill of discovery. Adding to its mystique, rumors and reports circulated about a small number of 2005 cents being struck on experimental planchets, possibly intended for foreign coinage or test strikes, and these anomalies created coins with different weights, colors, or metallic compositions than standard cents, and whenever such experimental errors slip out of the mint they become legends. Much like the famous 1943 copper cent or the 1974 aluminum cent, and so the possibility that one of the $1 million 2005 cents might actually be such a coin only deepens the fascination and drives collectors to search tirelessly. Beyond the technical details of minting, errors, and grading, the 2005 cent worth $1.4 million also tells a story about human curiosity and passion, because at its heart coin collecting is about more than profit, it is about preserving history, celebrating artistry, and marveling at the small imperfections that make life interesting, and when a single cent becomes a multi-million-dollar treasure, it captures imaginations around the world and draws new people into the hobby, eager to learn, explore, and maybe one day stumble upon their own hidden fortune. So as we wrap up this incredible journey into the 2005 Lincoln cent, we see that its extraordinary value comes not from gold or silver content but from mistakes, imperfections, and the rarity those create, proving that sometimes flaws are what make things truly beautiful and valuable, and that even the humblest objects can hold stories worth more than gold, and who knows? Maybe the next time you check your change you will find a coin with doubling, off-center strikes, missing plating, or some other error that could transform an ordinary penny into a priceless treasure. And if you enjoy exploring these fascinating stories of coins worth big money, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us again as we uncover more incredible tales of small coins with big value that continue to amaze collectors and inspire dreamers everywhere. Next, we are going to explore the legendary 1988 United States Lincoln 1-cent coin, a coin that most people would simply overlook or spend without a second thought, but one that in certain rare cases has been valued at an astonishing $7 million, not because it was made of gold or rare precious metals, but because of the mistakes, the errors, the anomalies, and the mysteries of the minting process that turned it from a simple piece of change into a multi-million-dollar treasure. And in This journey we are going to dive into the details of the errors, the types of mistakes, the possibilities that make this coin so incredibly valuable, and the history behind it all. So buckle up as we go deep into the fascinating world of the 1988 penny and discover why collectors are willing to pay such astronomical prices for a coin worth just 1 cent on its face. To really understand why the 1988 penny has such extraordinary value, we have to start by understanding what the coin was supposed to be, because by 1988 the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for nearly 8 decades since its introduction in 1909 with Victor David Brenner's famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. The first time a real historical figure had been featured on regular circulating U.S. coinage, and on the reverse, since 1959, the Lincoln Memorial design by Frank Gasparro had been used to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, so by 1988 the design itself was nothing new. People were used to seeing Lincoln's face on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back, and millions upon millions of these coins were struck that year at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, the vast majority being absolutely ordinary copper-plated zinc cents. But within the massive sea of coins that left the presses, something unusual happened, something that would not be noticed immediately by the public, but that would eventually shock collectors, because hidden among the common sense were examples with errors, mistakes, and striking anomalies that would make them some of the most valuable pennies in modern American numismatic history. The most famous error connected with the 1988 penny is the 1988 transitional reverse error, an incredible mistake that happened because in 1989 the US Mint slightly modified the reverse design of the Lincoln Memorial cent, and coins from 1989 onward feature what is known as the RDV-006 reverse design, while 1988 cents were supposed to carry the older RDV-005 reverse. But what happened is that some 1988 cents were mistakenly struck using the new 1989 reverse design, creating what collectors now call the 1988 reverse of 1989 cent, and these transitional errors are highly sought after because they represent a mistake in the design transition process itself, essentially coins that do not belong to their year, and they are extremely rare, and when found in high-grade condition they are valued at extraordinary amounts, with some of the finest known examples being valued in the millions. And it is this transitional reverse error that forms the backbone of the story of the 1988 penny that can be worth $7 million, because it is not just an error, it is a key historical marker showing how even the most carefully controlled minting operations can slip up in ways that create treasures. But the transitional reverse is not the only type of error associated with the 1988 cent, because as with any year of minting there were also double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, filled dies, missing plating, and other types of mistakes that created coins that were instantly recognizable as different and therefore collectible. And in 1988 a number of double die obverse coins were reported where Lincoln's eye, mouth, or the lettering "In God We Trust" appeared double due to a misalignment in the die-making process, and these double die coins are especially desirable when the doubling is dramatic and visible to the naked eye, and collectors prize them greatly, paying thousands or tens of thousands depending on condition, and when such an error combines with the transitional reverse mistake, the value goes through the roof, explaining why certain specimens can be valued as high as $7 million. Off-center strikes from 1988 also add to the story, because when a coin blank, known as a planchette, is not perfectly centered between the dies during striking, the design can be pushed off to one side, leaving part of the planchette blank and part of the design incomplete, and the more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin, especially if the date remains visible. And there are reports of 1988 cents struck as much as 60% or more off-center with clear visible dates, making them incredibly rare and valuable, and when combined with the transitional reverse or double die errors, such a coin would be virtually priceless, a once-in-a-lifetime find that could command millions at auction. Missing plating errors from 1988 are also significant because since 1982 cents have been made with a zinc core coated with a thin layer of copper, and if the copper plating is missing or incomplete, the coin can appear silvery gray, exposing the zinc underneath, and these coins are easily spotted by collectors and can bring in high prices, particularly if they are in pristine condition and have full mint state luster, and while on their own they might be worth hundreds or thousands, in combination with other errors they add to the allure and push the value ever higher. Broad strike errors from 1988, where the retaining collar fails and the coin spreads out wider than normal with distorted features, also exist and add to the diversity of valuable error coins from that year, further cementing 1988 as a landmark year for rare penny errors. Another fascinating error possibility with the 1988 cent is the mule error, where obverse and reverse dies from different years or denominations are accidentally paired together, and while no widely recognized mule cents from 1988 have been confirmed, the possibility always exists because the transitional reverse already shows that dies from different years were being mixed up, and if an obverse die from 1988 had been paired with a reverse die from a different denomination or experimental piece, such a coin would be beyond legendary, and if one exists, it could easily explain the jaw-dropping valuation of $7 million. Condition also plays a crucial role in determining the value of error coins, because collectors demand not just rarity but also preservation, and grading services like PCGS and NGC certify coins on the 70-point Sheldon scale, with coins in mint state 65 and higher being exceptionally valuable. And when an error coin like the 1988 transitional reverse is found in mint state red condition with no scratches, sharp details, and full luster, its value skyrockets exponentially, and it is coins like these that can reach multi-million-dollar price tags, because collectors with deep pockets are always eager to compete for the finest known examples of key rarities. The 1988 cent also has a story beyond just errors, because it represents a turning point in American coinage history, being part of the late Lincoln Memorial series just before the bicentennial of Lincoln's birth in 2009 would lead to new designs, and because transitional errors mark moments when the mint was shifting from one die design to another, they capture the history of change itself, making them not just mistakes but tangible artifacts of numismatic history, and this historical context adds an extra layer of value to the 1988 transitional reverse cent, explaining why it is not just a $7 million curiosity but a milestone in the story of US coinage. What makes this coin especially exciting for collectors and everyday people alike is the possibility that such treasures could still be out there in circulation or tucked away in jars, drawers, and collections, because although many have been found and certified, others remain undiscovered, and the thought that an ordinary 1988 penny sitting in someone's change could secretly be worth millions fuels the excitement and mystery of the hobby. And that is what keeps collectors searching, keeps auctions buzzing, and keeps stories like this alive, because the thrill of the hunt is just as powerful as the value of the coin itself. Imagine the feeling of finding such a coin, noticing that the reverse design does not match the correct year, sending it off for grading, and discovering that what you thought was worth 1 cent is suddenly a multi-million-dollar treasure, life-changing wealth contained in the palm of your hand, and that sense of possibility is what makes the 1988 penny worth not just $7 million but also a piece of living history, a symbol of how small mistakes can create extraordinary results. And so as we close this incredible exploration of the 1988 Lincoln cent worth $7 million because of its errors, mistakes, and transitional anomalies, we see how every detail matters, from double dies to off-center strikes, from missing plating to broad strikes, from transitional reverses to the mere condition of the coin, each factor contributing to the astronomical value. And it reminds us that the world of coin collecting is a world where rarity, history, and human error combine to create treasures that astonish and inspire, and who knows? Last, we are diving into one of the most fascinating tales in modern coin collecting, the story of the 1990 Lincoln 1 cent coin, a coin that most people have handled thousands of times without giving it a second thought, yet under the right circumstances and because of very specific minting errors and mistakes, this humble penny has reached reported values as high as $3.9 million. An astonishing amount that seems impossible until you understand the world of numismatic rarity and the extraordinary factors that can turn a single cent into a fortune. And in this journey together we are going to explore why the 1990 penny stands out, the exact errors and mistakes that make it so rare and valuable, the role of minting anomalies in creating unique specimens, the possibilities of transitional designs, double dies, missing mint marks, and off-center strikes that all contribute to its fame, and ultimately why collectors are willing to pay millions for what looks like an ordinary coin. So let's begin this deep dive into a numismatic marvel. To understand why the 1991 cent is so valuable, we first need to know the context of its minting, because in 1990 the United States Mint was still striking the long-running Lincoln Memorial cent, with the obverse designed by Victor David Brenner featuring the portrait of Abraham Lincoln introduced in 1909. And the reverse designed by Frank Gasparo featuring the Lincoln Memorial introduced in 1959. But what made the 1990 issue unique is that during this period the mint made some important transitions and mistakes that slipped into circulation and later shocked the collecting community, because while hundreds of millions of coins were minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, only a few carry the kinds of errors and anomalies that catapult them into the million-dollar range. One of the most famous errors from 1990 is the missing mint mark proof error, particularly the 1990 No S proof cent, which was struck at the San Francisco Mint for collectors but accidentally produced without the Thest mint mark, creating one of the most valuable modern proof errors ever. And while these were not intended for circulation, examples have become legendary in auctions, fetching extraordinary sums and setting the stage for the mystique surrounding 1990 cents in general, because if such a rare proof error can exist, it opens the door to the possibility of other rare mistakes and anomalies in the same year's production. In addition to the No S proof error, 1990 circulation cents also exhibit fascinating mistakes that collectors chase, including double die obverses where lettering such as "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or the digits of the date 1990 show doubling due to misalignment during the die creation process, and such double dies can range from minor to dramatic, with the most extreme examples fetching tens of thousands of dollars on their own, and if found in pristine mint state condition they can skyrocket in value, with the rarest examples forming the backbone of the stories of million-dollar 1990 pennies. Another important category of error in the 1990 cent is off-center striking, where the blank planchet was not properly centered in the press, resulting in coins with designs that are shifted, incomplete, or partly missing, and when these errors are dramatic but still preserve the full date, they become highly valuable, and examples from 1990 have sold for thousands depending on how far off-center the strike is. But if combined with another error such as a missing mint mark or double die, the value could easily compound into astronomical amounts, explaining why unique examples can reach into the millions. Broad strike errors from 1990 are also notable, occurring when the retaining collar fails and the coin spreads wider than normal with distorted features, and such errors, while less dramatic than off-center strikes, are still rare and collectible, particularly when they occur on coins in excellent condition, and once again if combined with other anomalies they add to the legend of high-value 1990 cents. One of the most intriguing possibilities for the 1990 cent is transitional errors, because this was a period when the mint was preparing for design changes leading up to the Lincoln bicentennial designs that would arrive in 2009, and although the major transitional reverse errors are more famous in 1988 and 1992, the possibility always exists that die pairings and design elements overlapped incorrectly in 1990 as well, and collectors have long speculated about mule errors or transitional dies slipping into circulation, which if discovered would be priceless and could easily justify the staggering $3.9 million valuation attached to certain 1990 cents. Missing plating errors are another key factor in the story of 1990 cents, because since 1982 the composition of the penny has been primarily a zinc core with a thin copper plating, and in some cases the plating process fails, resulting in coins where the zinc is exposed and the coin appears silvery rather than copper, and such errors are instantly recognizable and highly collectible, with pristine examples bringing in impressive premiums, and while a single missing plating error might not reach millions, in combination with other errors such as doubling or off-center striking, the uniqueness of the coin can drive values into unimaginable territory. The role of condition and grading cannot be overstated when discussing the value of 1990 cents, because collectors are always willing to pay more for coins in higher grades, and professional grading services like PCGS and NGC certify coins on the 70-point Sheldon scale, with coins graded MS65 and above commanding huge premiums. And when an error coin is found in such pristine mint state condition with full red luster, sharp strike, and no distracting marks, its value multiplies, and it is coins like these that become legendary and sell for millions at high-profile auctions, with deep-pocketed collectors battling for the finest known specimens. Another fascinating aspect of the 1990 cent is its role as a symbol of the unpredictability of the minting process, because it shows that even in an era of advanced technology and tight controls, mistakes can still slip through, and those mistakes become treasures, and it is this element of unpredictability that excites collectors and treasure hunters, because it means that even today, tucked away in a drawer or jar of old change, a 1990 cent worth millions could be hiding, waiting to be discovered by someone who takes the time to look closely. The 1990 cent also inspires because it shows how tiny details can create extraordinary value, because the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth $3.9 million can be as small as a missing mint mark, a slight doubling in the lettering, or an off-center strike that most people would overlook, and that lesson resonates beyond coin collecting, reminding us that sometimes the smallest flaws, quirks, or differences can make something truly special and valuable. Imagine the excitement of finding such a coin, of realizing that a piece of change you might have thoughtlessly spent on candy or dropped in a couch cushion is actually a life-changing fortune, and that sense of possibility is what fuels the passion of collectors, driving them to study every detail, search through countless rolls of pennies, and dream of the day they stumble upon a treasure. It is also worth noting that auction houses and private sales play a huge role in establishing the legendary values of coins like the 1990 cent, because when rare errors come to market, especially in top condition, the bidding wars can be fierce, and wealthy collectors are willing to push prices higher and higher to secure a piece of numismatic history. And this competitive atmosphere is what allows coins like the 1990 penny to reach multi-million-dollar price tags, cementing their place in history. Beyond the technical details of errors and values, the 1990 cent story is also about the romance of collecting, the idea that history is preserved in the smallest objects, that imperfections can become treasures, and that even the most common of items can contain extraordinary stories, and it is this sense of wonder that makes the 1990 penny not just a coin but a legend, a reminder that greatness can come from the most unexpected places. So as we wrap up this incredible exploration of the 1990 Lincoln cent, we see that its reported $3.9 million value comes from a combination of rare and fascinating errors, from the no-S-proof error to double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, missing plating, and the tantalizing possibility of transitional or mule errors. And when these mistakes are combined with pristine condition and the fierce demand of collectors, the result is a coin that defies imagination, a coin that shows us how history, chance, and human error can create treasures worth millions, and perhaps the most exciting part is that such coins could still be out there, waiting to be discovered in everyday change. So the next time you look at a penny from 1990, take a closer look, because it just might be worth more than you could ever dream. And if you love exploring these amazing stories of small coins with big value, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us again as we continue to uncover more mind-blowing tales of coins worth big money that can change lives forever.